And we are live. Welcome back to Pistons Jack Fan Reacts, where we're going to talk through a bit of a disappointing loss out in Cleveland tonight, where the Pistons go down to the Cavs 91-110 in a pretty one-sided game for the most part. Before we get into the game, though, I've got my man Lewis joining me in just a moment. He came on a couple of weeks ago, so really excited to have him back to talk some Pistons. Probably got around 45 minutes to an hour today for the stream. So if you want to pop up, there's free space after Lewis. So please shoot me a DM now on Twitter or Instagram, or if you're in the chat right now, we can even shoot you an email to get you up here if you don't have those other accounts. But just while we wait for Lewis, just going to share some brief thoughts on the game. Look, the Pistons hung around in the first half. I don't think they ever had a lead at all in this game. But though it was constantly around that 5 to 10 point range for much of the first half. Cade Cunningham started well in the first quarter, but ultimately he had a really down second quarter where I think he was like 2 of 10, I want to say. He didn't get any calls, only the 4 free throws tonight, but at times it felt like he was just settling for shots in the mid-range, which were there. That's what the Cavs were allowing him to do, but he just didn't have the touch tonight. And yeah, he was 9 for 26, finished with 22, 7 assists. But look, I'm going to bring up my man Lewis. He's just joined in just a second, and we'll talk through it all. There's some key things to talk about tonight, so I'm going to get him up now. Lewis, what's going on, man?
How you doing, Jack? You doing all right?
Hey, man, I'm doing a lot better since you reached out to me because tonight. It's been a long time since they've had a loss like this, just in terms of the fan reacts, where I feel like everyone just wants to forget about the Pistons for the night. So I'm very grateful that you've reached out and want to come up and talk, because this is therapeutic. So yeah, man, I
Yeah,
appreciate
yeah,
you.
yeah. It's no problem, man, at all. It's um, I didn't want to cut you off though. I don't know if you were still talking.
No,
My
no,
bad.
I was
Okay.
just going through some thoughts while I waited for you. I'm
Uh,
keen to hear your thoughts on tonight, and just any thoughts overall since we last spoke. I'll kick it to you.
okay. So again, with the last two losses, it's kind of felt like we're seeing this trend of Cade having to kind of play hero ball. I understand that we have a heliocentric offense, right? And it's been working for us for the most part, but when we play these teams with elite rim protection, right, and
Yeah.
maybe throw a couple of stingy defenders on a kid on the perimeter, it kind of makes it tougher, of course, right? And in some games he can play above that, right, and outperform, right, even though the situation isn't ideal. But this just makes me want to make a trade that much more, because if we're going to lose that first round pick, I'd rather us make that push now. The sooner the better for that 6 spot. Just to avoid that the chance of the disappointment of losing in the play-in games. If we're going to lose our pick,
Yeah.
then let's try and make sure we put ourselves in the best position to succeed. You don't want to have that situation where your record is, too good to where you fall out of that lottery spot. I forget how
Yeah,
protected the
there's
pitch
some
is.
crazy situation where like they can miss the play in. So I think if they win, say they finish like ninth or 10th, they
Yeah.
win that first playing game, but then they lose the one to get into the playoffs. I think they would finish 14th, the 14th worst record, and that way they lose the pick and don't make the playoffs.
Oh,
So I hope
yes.
that made sense, but that's the worst
Yeah, yeah.
situation.
So
It's very
that's
unlikely, but yeah,
yeah.
it's yeah.
So that's exactly what I was going for. Thank you for breaking it down because I wasn't sure how protected the pick was, but yeah, that's what we want to avoid. I think I seen your post with a straight up swap of Simone for Lonzo. I'd be
There
all
was
in on
also
that.
a second round pick on
Or
there. It
second one?
wasn't very clear on the graphic. I probably should have
Okay.
put it on, but it
Oh no,
was
you're
a
okay.
future second from the Knicks for the 26 draft. So I would do that trade in a heartbeat.
Same,
Uh, I don't know
same.
if the Bulls will. It's really interesting because I know Tech's struggling. Because we may as well just talk about this now. I did like what you brought up about Cade. We'll get to that next, but we may as well talk about that. So I think Tech, like, as much as he struggled with the Pistons, Austin was on last stream and kind of spoke about how it just feels like Tech, he is certainly struggling, but he just doesn't really have a role on this team anymore with kind of the
Yeah,
way Ron and Asar have played and the minutes they need. And then with the shooting you're getting from Beasley and THJ, like Tech's shooting's nice, but like he's just like kind of not as valuable as he was last season. So
yeah,
whilst I think his value to Detroit, like for the fan base at least, is kind of low, I still think that he like the Bulls, who are a very high volume shooting team, um,
mm,
wouldn't mind taking him on and just because he'll still help space the floor for their younger guys.
yeah.
So yeah, like obviously you like that trade. I'm not sure if the Bulls do it, but that's just the first one that came to mind.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, it's just so evident, watching the Cavs operate, seeing how Donovan Mitchell didn't have to force his shot. He could play into his rhythm, if you will, I guess. He could,
Yeah,
you know, he could rely on a Darius, you know what I'm saying, a Garland. He could rely on even their backup point guard was playing well. Jerome. Yeah, he
yeah,
was playing well. So, and I think he played well against us the last time. So, I mean, even just a decent backup point guard, it doesn't have to be Alonzo necessarily, but someone decent, how we talked about last time, Malcolm Brogdon, a CJ McCollum, some type of guard that could create for themselves. I think that would go a long way. And also the rim protection for them, man, it kind of makes me feel like that's what I want Duran to be, is what Jared Allen is right now. And I
yeah.
just don't see that happening. So then my hope is that, maybe offensively he'll come along, but I'm not seeing anything offensively to make me think that, we'll give him what he thinks he's worth, if you get what I'm
I
saying.
No, I get you for sure, and I think that's another really good name you just brought up there. Back to the point guard thing, Malcolm Brogdon. I think I think I think someone just commented. I just got a notification that yeah, someone spoke about Brogdon getting him as a buyout guy. If I think he where I'm not sure where he is now, but if they could get him, that's another great name that you mentioned. But with JD, look, I think JD's been a lot better lately, but I definitely
Yeah,
feel you in the sense of like if we're zooming out a little bit, the defense still needs to get a lot better. And
yeah,
if it isn't going to increase to, at least a slightly above average level, then he's going to be really great offensively. And I definitely get you where you feel like, is he actually going to get there more long term? But look, I will say just on the game tonight, like disappointing game, like no question about it. Like if you sat up and watched this, like you and I did, like it's frustrating to watch it, but I mean, I kind of didn't expect a win tonight. Like, I'm not going crazy. I'm not like all hope is lost with these guys. Definitely need to make a move for someone who can handle the ball. Like, sign them, trade, whatever other way you can get it, make it happen. Like, because
yeah,
you're so right what you said about Cade earlier, just how, as soon as teams have like a decent rim protector and a couple of like pesky defenders, like, you know, the Magic and Cavs like are two really tough matchups for Cade, who I think his whole
yeah,
career he's struggled against them, to be honest. But
yeah.
yeah, those deficiencies seriously on stand out in the past two games.
Yeah, it's definitely tough to watch because Cade is such a cerebral player. He's so smart. It's tough to see him taking some ill-advised shots just because he knows his team doesn't have it tonight. And it's
Yeah.
a little frustrating because that's when all the haters come out of the woodworks. And oh, this guy, he's a shot chucker. He isn't really like that. And it's like,
Yeah.
again, context is everything. I feel like we have too much of the same thing. A lot of catch and shoot guys. We just need guys that can create. On a night like tonight, I wouldn't have even minded seeing like guys like Ron Holland take a crack at, running the
Yeah.
pick and roll and just seeing what they could do. Like these games where it's kind of a wash, you might as well experiment a little bit, right? Um, But it definitely hurts following that Orlando loss too, man. But I
Yeah.
mean, it doesn't get any
It look
easier. The next two games. Oh, my fault. Go ahead.
no, they got the Pacers next. I'm with you though. That's probably one thing I was a bit like disappointed was that we didn't just get to see a bit more like Ron creating or even man just get Paul Reed in a bit earlier. I thought like going back to Stu in the fourth,
Yeah,
like that was down like 15. Like I don't know really what that move is. Like let's see some Paul Reed. Like I was kind of hoping
yeah,
like early in the fourth, once it felt like it was fully done. Like, remember that Denver game earlier in the year where they
yeah.
played that all bench and they just made this fun run and like
They
they
almost came
made
back.
I think Denver bring their starters back in. Like, I
Yeah,
would like to see
yeah,
Bobby Clintman for 5 minutes. Like, that's probably the
yeah. I would have
only
loved that.
main thing where I'm just like, JB, like, I know like you want to yeah, look, he gave us some more run at the end, but I don't know,
Mhm.
man. Get the starters some rest and let's get these bench guys in and see. Let them have some like cook. I don't know, just like
Yeah,
muck some stuff up.
yeah. You just never know, right? You just got to push the right buttons. Maybe inserting, how you said Reed. I forgot to mention Reed, but I love Reed. Every time he comes in, he's making a difference somehow, some way. He's usually instant offense. It seems like, which we don't really have with our other two bigs, right? But I mean, I just like the fact that he can pick and pop. It's again kind of
Yeah,
going back to the limitations of our other two bigs. With Isaiah, I love Isaiah to death, but he's kind of taken a step back from shooting. I haven't really seen him shoot
yeah,
that much this year. So he's really focused on his role of just rebounding, blocking shots, just how you mentioned mucking it up, right? And then Duran is just a lob threat. So I like when we give teams a different look. And in a night like this, when we couldn't get anything going, I think it would have been nice to get Reed in there. And then again, how you mentioned with or how we mentioned with Ron, just
oh,
having like
oh, yeah,
someone do I don't know, get a chance at something that they don't normally get to, right? Just be
yeah,
on ball instead of having to be in the corner or just cutting. But rough loss all around, but I
yeah.
mean, hopefully they can get it together before
Like
who is it next Pacers, I think.
Pacers in on Thursday, I think, so in 2 nights' time. But I think as well, just thinking back on the game, like because in the first half, it felt like the Cavs could not hit a three. The Pistons couldn't either, but they were still always it was still like 5 to 10 points the whole time. And maybe that's where it would have been good to just bring in Paul Reed for a little bit, like because I'm not going to say I want him shooting a heap of threes, but he might be like in terms of offense on out of the centers, like he might be
Yeah,
the most like best option of the three, like just to like make Mobley or Allen have to
yeah,
work a little bit because I felt like they
yeah.
could just, man, they were just chilling in the paint
In the paint.
outside the block. As soon as Cade came in, they just
Yes,
take one big lunge in, and Cade can't do
yes,
anything. And look,
yes.
I love Isaiah Stewart to death, my favorite player on the team, but as for unfortunately, he can't provide you that like vertical spacing or lob option. So
Yeah.
they don't even have to worry about him when Stu's in the dunker spot because they know K drops off a bounce pass to him, they're going to recover and block it. So there's just like, yeah, I'm going
It,
on a
it's
tangent, but it would have been nice to see Paul Reed in there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's and the thing is again, like he's undersized as well, right? But it's just the fact that he could shoot. That's all it takes to
Yeah.
kind of, pull him out the paint and just give Cade a different look instead of getting kind of blitzed, how we talked about before. This is like back
Yeah.
to back games of him getting blitzed and him just trying to power through. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's hard to like really give like an analysis on it. I mean, they were just a better team, and we're just not healthy. We're missing Ivy. I think they just match up
Yeah.
well. What they have is a great counter to what we do. So it's
Exactly.
we can analyze all day, but I think they're just the better squad at this time. It's
Cool.
tough pill to
Facts.
swallow,
And
but
man, they'd lost 3 games in a row and their record was still like 36-9. Like, like I mean, and
yeah,
so I just got to shout out my man Derek Brown here, brother. That is the most generous thing, man. $20 on a loss like this after tonight. That is, I'm speechless, bro. I appreciate that so much. I appreciate your support. You're always in the comments. I'm gonna get you up here one day. You've DM'd me on Instagram before, and I thought we nearly had you to get you up here. So thank you so much. And just know that all 20 of those dollars, man, help this show keep going and keep us building like the best Pistons community. So thank you so much, brother. And we will get to some more comments later for everyone else in there. But big thank you to you, Derek. But yeah, the Cavs, like, man,
Yeah.
let's be like, we can't, it's disappointing, right? But we can't be like going too crazy after this. Like, they're pretty good.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. I mean, they've shown who they are. Very early in the season, they had that crazy streak, right? I just I kind of felt like it was gonna be a rough one when I heard that they were on a 3-game skid. I was like, man, back-to-back games. So Orlando was on a 5-game skid,
I
Cavs on a
thought the
3-game skid.
same.
I'm
Yeah.
like, we're getting the best effort because they don't want it to extend. So I like that though, to be honest. I feel like that challenge will just make our guys better, of course, right? But at the end of the day, man, it's just one loss. I know after these next couple of tough games, we got a weaker spot in the schedule that we're definitely gonna have to take advantage of. Playing the Bulls multiple times, I believe. There's some
Yep.
other teams I'm forgetting, but yeah, it's just a
No,
tough loss.
you're right. I'll let me quickly pull it up because you brought it up. I was going through it yesterday. So there's a couple of tough games. They got at Indiana, and then I think they got the Cavs at home. Oh, they got Dallas
Yeah,
at home on Friday or Saturday. Then they got the Hawks, Chicago, like you said, both at home. Cavs.
okay.
So look, I reckon win one of the Indiana or Dallas game, and I think we'll be around 500 and hopefully get both those games against the Bulls and the Hawks. So
Yeah,
yeah,
is Luka playing or is he still hurt?
I'm pretty sure he's going to be out. Pretty
He's
sure.
still out. Okay. Okay. So I mean, it's realistic. I really want us to get get the Pacers, man. But yeah, I
Yeah.
mean, we'll see. We'll see, man. I don't know. Again, like it's hard to really have like too many thoughts on it. Like it kind of is what it is, right? Like rough game. We're clearly, missing Ivy right now. So I mean, they just need to make sure they go out, do their due diligence, don't do anything crazy, right? I trust Trajan to do his job. But we need another ball handler, another creator for sure. Sooner rather than later. I think this game should put some urgency on that if we're really trying to compete for that 6th spot. If you're fine with being in the plan, then I mean, I guess you could just let this ride out to the deadline. When is the deadline, by the way? It's
It
February
is. I think it's February 7th.
7th.
So it's basically what's that? 9 to 10 days away, I think.
Oh, okay.
So just over a
So
week.
okay. Well, I mean, again, it's just like one of those things. Like we're losing to a lot of teams that are right there with us, right? Like losing that tiebreaker to Orlando kind of hurt. The Pacers coming up, we're gonna have to try and even out that series as well. But I'm pretty sure they've separated themselves quite a bit as of late, haven't they?
The
So
Pacers, yeah. Let me quickly pull that up. But that they have. They're above by a couple of games at Pistons, I think. I'm pulling that
okay,
one up now though. Why
yeah, because the
um
standings. That's what I was curious about. I guess like how far have we dropped after this loss?
so so I'll go through it now. So the Pacers sit at 5th with a 2-game difference between them and the Magic, who are at 6th. So Pacers are 25 and 20, Magic 24 and 23. Pistons are now 23 and 23, half a game behind the Magic at 7. They're tied with Miami. Well, but since they have the tiebreaker, Miami at 8th. I hope that made
Okay.
sense.
Yeah. No, for sure, for sure. Okay, so I mean, we're still looking all right then. I mean, yeah, it's we'll be okay. I think they got to pull the trigger sooner rather than later. That's all.
And
So
I agree.
it's
And the
okay.
thing is, like, it goes beyond for me just like getting rid of that pick in terms of making the playoffs. Like, I really think like Cade's gonna seriously start to wear down, and you're even seeing it with the
Yeah,
amount of load he's carrying right now. So I just think from the standpoint of like Cade's even development, if you want to call it, and just his ability to keep playing at a high level, like you need to go get this guy. Like it's not just about the off season where we might lose a pick. Like that's a key part, but
yeah,
making sure Cade is not like being worn down into the ground is also like a big thing as well. for me in terms of going and getting someone who can just, like you said, like Donovan Mitchell, man, he just like he didn't have a great game tonight, but that man just skips around. He'll get the ball every 2 possessions.
Yeah,
Get into like hezzy, pull up, and it looks like the most effortless thing because he's got Darius Garland, he's got Ty Jerome. Like who else do they have? They got some other guys.
yeah. I
They got
mean,
more
I
talent clearly, but you know what I
yeah,
mean? Just so Cade can have a rest and maybe someone create a look for him every so often.
yeah, because I do like Cade when he plays off ball. I'm not sure what his catch and shoot numbers are, but for the most part, he's pretty good for knocking them down. Just from what I've seen, right,
Yeah.
historically. When he's playing with Ivy, they play pretty well off each other. But yeah, the Cavs were just more talented, man. It was a little frustrating seeing Darius kind of just run around the paint like Steve Nash and just drop it off.
Yeah.
And I'm like, Duran, like Cade's already on him. Like you're not gonna help by also committing to
Yeah.
the little 6'2" guard that Cade's he's got him covered, man. And it was like a good three or
It's
four drop offs that I remember to Allen. Too easy, man. But
Yeah, and those are the things that when Stu's at the 5, like they aren't able to do because Stu is just so much better at anticipating, like playing that 2-on-1 type thing where he would know that he would have the awareness that Cade can actually he's got him, right? Like he might not be in front of him, but he knows he's got him and he can anticipate that Garland's just waiting to drop that pass off. Whereas
yes,
JD, it's still a very big work in progress for him. Like trying to play the 2-on-1 or trying to like just figure out where to be. You can see him like trying to figure it out in real time, and more often
yeah,
than not, he unfortunately commits to the wrong thing, and it's like you can't. It's like a car crash you can see coming,
yeah,
but that's part of his development. Like, I think I'm not gonna.
uh,
Not that you're piling on him, but it's a great point from you. But I think his energy overall has been so much better of late that like, I'm
yeah.
not going to come on here like I was earlier in the year and be like, bench him. Like,
Mhm.
but yeah, it's been an issue with him for a long time and it's just always
Yeah,
on show
yeah,
this season.
yeah. I'll be honest, man. Yeah, I definitely do pile on Duran. I mean, I would say some of it's unfair, maybe, but he has been playing better. Don't get me wrong. Like the last couple games, he's played well. Against Houston in particular, that was a great showing for him. Um, I think the only issue for me is just again the consistency. It's not there consistently enough, I guess, and
Yeah,
if that's a question for me, it makes me a little worried to invest in them long term. I mean,
totally fair though.
a contract for Duran, realistically, I would want to probably pay him around what Stu's getting, to be honest, but I doubt he would be willing to accept that as a starting center. So I feel like for the money that we would have to pay him to stay here as our starter would end up being better, used on a guy that can maybe fill some more needs. Like Miles Turner, for example. We were talking about him when they last played the Pacers. Stretch big
Yeah,
that can block some shots occasionally and just play his role, right? But
yeah.
I
It
mean,
it's
oh
tricky
my
with
fault.
JD. I don't think you're piling on him at all. Like, I mean, I think it's just his weaknesses come to the surface a lot. And when he's not like it just by nature of the position he plays at the
Yeah,
center, like defensively, like your center is the most important position. Like it just is. And unfortunately, his weaknesses come to the surface a fair bit. He's been a lot better recently, but it's very fair to question like an extension with him because even when he's playing better, it just at the end of the day, he's not you know, you're going to be paying him to be a starter or you're going to trade him, I feel like, because I feel like Stu's your backup big.
yeah,
And I feel like JD still thinks he's going to be a starter in this league, as he kind of should think, to be honest. But
yeah, for sure.
um, it is just tricky with him because even when he's playing well and the team's working well, um, there's just these things he has that he still struggles with, which are kind of key areas of being a center in today's NBA.
Yeah, yeah. It also, to kind of, I guess, not put everything on Duran, right? I also do have criticism for Asar as well. I mean,
Yeah,
obviously the lack of spacing contributes to those struggles, right? It's not all just Duran. You know, I think Asar took 1 3 maybe, and
yeah,
I think he missed. I'm pretty sure he missed, but
yeah,
he just his ball handling hasn't looked that sharp to me so far as well. And I was hoping for that to be a big part of his development. If the jumper wasn't going to be there, then you had to make
yeah,
yourself a great driver of the basketball, you know, and create those advantages with all his athleticism, get into the hole, maybe getting fouled, put their bigs in foul trouble. But it seems like he doesn't really. I don't know. For all the athleticism, he doesn't seem to really take it to the hole all that strong,
but
or if he loses the
yeah,
ball a little bit. And it's I'm being patient with him for sure, but it's definitely a criticism for him that also doesn't make it any easier on Cade when he's second guessing shooting the ball and he's wide open. You know, Cade's being doubled and he's creating a shot for you. You need to take it without hesitation. Make or miss, the team is
yeah,
invested in you. You got to take the shot. You put in a lot of hours in the gym. Take it with confidence, similar to Holland, you know. But
yeah.
that was something else that
I think
also kind of bothered me.
I think you're spot on about the handle though, because even before like last off season, like the number one thing I wanted to see from him is improve that handle, and it's a difference between him and Amen. I think Amen's a slightly more explosive athlete and more like bit more like he can just contort his body in more crazy ways than Asar around the rim, but Amen's handle is so far ahead of Asar's, and like
Yeah,
that was always the separator between them. I think people thought Asar was the better shooter, but when you look at where both their shooting is, it's not like a
a
that
difference.
exactly. So, like, but I like if he can improve that handle, he is a guy on the roster right now. Like say his
Mhm.
handle was better, he's actually one of the few guys that can drive him to the paint, kick it out to Cade, get in for an
Yes,
open look,
yes,
take the pressure off him. But he had some really rough possessions tonight, where he often will dribble baseline and get in some really tough spots and just lose the ball. He'll try and spin out of it back into the lane, just straight into traffic. His handle is quite loose, and it's something I think is for his career. It's much more important he improves his handle than the jumper, in my opinion. Like just for him as an NBA player, because the athleticism he has, and I truly think he does have like good passing instincts and playmaking. Like
yeah,
he's not Cade, he's not like a point guard or anything, but as a guy
for
who can
sure.
drive and kick, can generate some really good looks. But without the handle, it's just kind of tough for him to really utilize that. So yeah, I think it's definitely fair to put some criticism on him tonight. Even if he's a young guy, like you still need a little bit more.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, regardless of how young you are, right? I mean, you got to take that criticism and, use it as constructive criticism, become better, right? I'm sure his coaches are
Yeah,
talking to him. I know Fred Vincent's working with him every day, right? Um, I guess I'm just surprised with the lack of control on it. He just kind of gets out of control a little bit, you know what I'm saying, from time to time.
yeah,
Um, I was expecting it to be better at this point. When I was watching the highlights, when he was younger at OTE with his brother, I'm like, okay, I see what you see, right? The vision, I see those moments, right? Granted, those are highlights, but you see the potential for what he can be. And I
yeah,
remember when Troy drafted him, man, he was comparing him to Andre Iguodala. And I was just like, well, if we got an Andre Iguodala, that would be a home run, right? So
yeah,
I just I'm hoping he can progress and get to that point, right, where he's an offensive threat. Because if
yeah,
not, it's going to be kind of hard to keep him on the floor, man. Especially if we make the playoffs, you're going to see him get that Ben Simmons treatment. It's not going to be
oh yeah,
pretty. That's all I can say. It's not going to be pretty on that side of the ball. I've seen teams do that to him, like
yeah,
Boston and I mean the Hawks. Really, everyone that's faced Ben Simmons in the playoffs has done that, where you could take a screenshot, right, and it's just him on his own at the three, and he's got the ball, and everyone's playing off of him 10 feet away. It's just at that point.
and say what you want about Ben Simmons these days, but back
Yeah,
then when there was in the past Philly. He was like all-star, all NBA player. Like he was really, really good. He like
yeah,
he could handle the ball, great passer, great athlete. But like you said, once you get to the playoffs, if you're not going to shoot threes and you can't shoot threes, teams are just going to literally leave you wide open. And
yes,
it
and
just
they'll
he mentally just like it cooked him. Like
yeah,
he's had back issues now. I'm not saying that's why he's where he's at now,
yeah,
but just like I remember watching him in the playoffs, man. Like it just free throw shooting as well for him. Like didn't want to
yeah,
go to the line. Like it's just
yeah,
it can be like paralyzing in those series for the player
yeah.
and the rest of the team.
For sure, man, for sure. And I think that's where my mind is. Like, I know this team is going to do well. I don't expect us to fall off. I expect us to win about, be exactly what we are right now. A
Yeah.
500 team, hopefully we can get that sixth spot because that's what I want. Avoid the plan. But, I'm thinking of like in the future, right? When these guys are hopefully better than where they are now, progress is not guaranteed, right? This could be the best they get. So that's where I get scared sometimes, where it's like, you know, I don't want us to figure out too late that, they're not worth investing that development into because then that's where their value goes, right? That's why Duran scares me a little bit. Um, Asar, because of the shooting. But I mean, there's always going to be a need for defenders, right? So,
Yeah.
but we'll see. I guess I'm thinking more like in the future, man. I know we're gonna
Yeah.
get there eventually. I just don't see. I'm trying to make sense of the fit and who should go and who should not. Basically, just
I think honestly, like Trajan's the exact same. Like I think it's just like there's so many intriguing pieces here, but
yeah,
it does like Ron Holland, Asar Thompson, and Jalen Duran. I think Ron's the best chance there to be a real like offensive second or third option, more likely third. But like, none of those guys you invested first round picks in them, and none of them can shoot. Like Ron's gotten way better, and I love
yeah,
his confidence.
yeah,
But if the playoffs start tomorrow, no one's defending him.
exactly.
So
Yeah,
I think that's why we probably don't see them make a major move at the deadline because involving any of those guys because they're going to want this whole data of this season to see where they're at. And if you get
yeah,
to the playoffs, you're going to get some real data. Like that's the best data you can get on these young guys, even if
yeah,
they are young and inexperienced. Like they're gonna,
yeah,
it's going to be huge reps for them. But Lewis, if you still got some time, I was just going to go through some comments here, get some of your thoughts on some of them.
yeah. Go for it.
And so Sean here, shout out to Sean, always in the comments. He says we're still a long way off, boys. I assume he's talking about obviously the Cavs, the number one seed in the East, and I think they got the best record in the NBA. But I guess we've kind of been talking about the team long term, but just what are your overall vibes on the team and where they're trending so far this season and in the next couple?
Yeah. So I mean, by a long ways off, man. I'm not sure, what exactly he means by that, but to go from 14 wins to where we're at now, I think we're headed in the right direction. So, I'm happy with how we're doing. I think that we're overperforming. I would say we're outperforming what I expected. Cade's doing more with less. Than probably just about anybody in the league, to be honest. I mean, if
Yeah.
if you take Kate off this team, I mean, you're probably looking at another 14 win season.
Oh
So,
man.
I mean, I don't know. I'm just saying, like, the fact that he's able to take these pieces and make them so much better and just make it work without, he still doesn't have great spacing, right? Tobias, another stinker tonight, but I'm not going to be getting too down on them because he still demands some respect, right? You see him at the three, you're going to run out, try and contest. So, he's filling that role of spacing the floor. Um, but Beasley's obviously not going to have it every night. Same for THJ. It's just a matter of really Trajan just deciding, where he wants to steer this ship. In my opinion, I feel like it all falls on him at this point. I think we know what this team is. I think we have an idea of the ceiling, right? Um, I think he just needs to decide on whether or not he's gonna stick with the young guys or maybe trade one out to maybe pick up that. I don't know about a secondary star
Yeah.
because I mean who's out there realistically? I mean, besides Bi, that's the only person I could think of.
There's
That,
obviously Levine, but I feel like Levine's price right now, you like he's been playing really well. I'm not sure it's the same Levine package we were talking about a month or two ago, like where it was just basically match the salary and you'll get him. Um, so
yeah.
like I for me, yeah, I'm with you. Like I don't think they need to go get like if they went and got Brandon Ingram tomorrow, I would support it. I'll be honest. Like I'm not gonna sit here and say it's a horrible trade. I don't think he's a great fit with Cade, but just having that secondary guy will help. But I think I'm like at the point where I'm like, just like fill the deficiency. Like I still think Jaden Ivey and Cade, like you can make that work long term for sure. We've seen
Oh yeah.
enough this season. Would have
Yeah.
liked to have seen more, but I like, I think we've seen enough. So like just there's not that guy there right now for me. And I know like so just
I
get that ball handler in or maybe this off season you get a stretch big. It's Miles Turner. But yeah.
I agree. I do feel like we're kind of in like that kind of a tough spot, right? I mean, we want to assess the young talent, but they've improved so much this season that they're kind of forcing Trajan's hand now a little bit. So
Yeah.
I agree. I think the best move is doing exactly what you said, not doing anything too drastic, just get a secondary ball handler to help Kate out. Um, I think it's true what you said that I'm not in love with anybody as well that I would feel comfortable trading our young guys for, at least just yet.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah, Zach Levine, I mean, he would be a great fit, don't get me wrong, but it's something about the mental that I don't know if I trust him. I don't know. I don't think he would be bought in for some reason, like here in
No, I feel
Detroit.
you on that.
I
Yeah.
don't know what it is. It's just a gut thing. It's not like he said
Yeah.
anything, right? But I mean, as far as his skill set, it would be great next to Cade. I just don't
Yeah.
know if he would want to play here. That's all.
And like
Um,
and I know this is really unlikely and people will be like, Jack, this is never happening. But it's like just you look at how the Suns are going. I think they've been a bit better recently, but they're still, to my knowledge, not really beating any playoff teams. Like
yeah,
Devin, like, and I know
yeah,
that if Devin Booker requested a trade tomorrow, OKC got more picks. Who else?
yeah,
The Jazz have got heaps of picks. But like at the end of the day, like that is the type of guy
yes.
in the next 12 to 18 months that I would be like, yeah, I don't care. Get rid of everyone but Cade. Like, and
I'm with
so
you. I'm with you.
and I know that's so unlikely, but at the same time, if that opportunity doesn't present in the next 18 months, it's kind of like, well, Cade's still on an above 500 team. He's still going to be an all-star. He's going to be happy. The Pistons continue to be like a relevant team in the East that
Mm,
will continue to gain respect from players around the league. So like the reason I wanted to trade for like Ingram and Levine, 6 weeks ago, late November, early December, was because I was like, well, shit, like, are we just going to be like, finish the season like 28 and 50 something and like maybe miss a plane? And then it's like, well, Cade's going into year 5 next year. And it's
yeah,
just like, maybe we need a boost to like get into the playoffs and, just make it happen. But now I'm just like, well, they clearly need to address some issues that we've spoken about, but they're still a very respectable team. JB's got them playing hard every night. Obviously
yeah.
tonight, not the best example, but like,
No,
like they're like when you think about Detroit Pistons basketball over the past 5 years, like this team, like you said, is so far ahead of like whatever that was the last 4.5, 5 years.
yeah,
So, it's not I don't think it's bad if you continue to kind of just wait and make marginal moves to help Cade, to help some of these other young guys and see what they can become, because you can still be in playoff contention, you can still be winning every other night, and it's a decent scenario.
yeah. Yeah, I agree. I agree. Like some marginal moves will go a long way for this year. Um, I guess is there anyone else besides Booker that you think could take us to that next level that are realistic?
Yeah.
Because
Like
Booker,
honestly,
I
man, like
agree. Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
let's go through some teams here. This will be fun. So if I look at like OKC, we're not getting anyone from there. I won't even mention Denver. Who we got? Timberwolves, we're not getting Ant. Mavs, we're not getting Kyrie or Luka. Like, man, I'm just kind of
That's what
looking
I'm
at it like
saying. That's what
the only
worries me
one
a
I
little
think
bit.
someone brought it up in the chat was Drake M here says Zion. So Cade Zion will be electric. So like that's another
They
guy who I
would.
think is, if you listen to like podcasts with national reporters, like Zion's a guy that there's no actual reports on, but they're talking about this off season
Yeah.
is like a big star that could be on the move. That's another name. I'm like, man, like Zion has had plenty of issues. I feel like he wants to
Yeah.
go to a bigger market,
Market.
bigger
Yeah.
team. So I
Yeah.
like you talked about the mental with Levine. I'd be a little bit worried about Zion and in Detroit, but
For sure.
at the same time, like you would be trading
Yeah.
for him where I assume his value wouldn't be at its absolute highest. So
Yeah.
he would like him and Cade, like that would be super fun. Like I don't know how it works with the rest of the young core. I think he works with Ivy for sure. But like, I mean, you're probably giving up a couple of them anyway. But what are your thoughts on Zion?
Uh, so to be honest, I mean, it would be electric. Don't get me wrong. You know what I'm saying? That pick and roll would be ridiculous. And then Zion has shown an ability to handle the ball. He's just so strong, so explosive. You know, guys will bump right off of him. I'm sure, you know, if he's actually taking care of his body, I don't know. Last time I seen him, he was looking, pretty big, but, probably eating too good down there in NOLA. But, he's just a natural athlete, man. So, I mean, yeah, a true scorer at power forward would be great for us, right?
Yeah.
I'm just not sure long term if he doesn't seem to take care of his body, so I don't know how much longer he'll be that explosive. I mean, I'm a little worried that you won't get a good return, I guess, with Zion long term. I
Yeah.
feel like you may peak at a high seed, but I don't see us winning championships with Zion, I guess.
It's
So
It's
uh,
scary, isn't it? Because there is that
yeah,
peak and that peak outcome that you talk about where it's like, man, like Zion's played some of his best basketball at like playing point guard, like when they just give him the
yeah,
ball and be like, get out of the way. Like,
mhm,
and whilst you want Cates having the ball, like that would still be awesome. Like, but
yeah,
I would just be petrified. Like, man, we're getting ready for the season. It's early October, preseason games coming.
uh,
Let's get to LCA. I might even fly over for some preseason games if Cade and Buddy Zion are there, and then
yeah,
you get to the game, Zion Williamson out, foot
yeah,
injury. Like I can
yeah,
just like I can see it. Like I can
hamstring,
see it.
yeah,
And yeah, hamstring, like all these soft tissue things, like calf contusion.
mm.
Like I don't know. Like it's
it it'd be really
and I'm not.
fun. It
Yeah,
would just be CP3 Blake Griffin all over again. That's what it would be. But a bigger CP3, right? It'd be like Lob
yeah,
City, but I mean with less talent around him.
yeah, yeah. It's like, and because I think sometimes Pistons fans like if I say no to a Zion trade, someone will be like, "Well, Jack, no one's like, there's no player good enough for a trade." But I truly think with Zion, like the health thing is such a big issue. Like, I mean, if you're giving up like not a lot, like I don't know, I can't think of a package, then maybe. But like, man, he'd be taking up a heap of your cap, even if you take
Yeah.
like don't have to give up a heap of young guys or something. Like just having that huge salary, like. Yeah, I don't know. I'm rambling now.
No, no,
It's an
no.
exciting prospect. I'm just like, man, it's a big risk.
Yeah, it would be great. You're gonna make the playoffs every year for as long as you have that duo together, especially in the East. But I guess I want championships. I guess that's just my mental. I want to see a winner, right? I don't want to just see. Listen, I won't take it for granted being in the playoffs every year. Us being out of it for so many years. Half my life feels like they haven't been in the playoffs. So I mean, I would appreciate it. But I just don't think the sustainability is there. I think unless we can pick him up, get his value through the roof, right? If we could get him to take the game serious, then maybe eventually trade for another superstar that maybe fits better. Um, I'm not sure how old Zion is, but
Well,
I
he
don't know.
was
I just feel like
2019 draft, so I reckon he's like 24, 25 maybe.
so he's still young. I mean,
Yeah.
I mean, I knew he was young, but damn, yeah, I don't know why I thought he was a little older, but I mean, I guess it's true. Like, I can't think of any other superstars that are realistically attainable right now. So
No,
I think that's what worries me is like I'm saying I want to wait till we get that superstar player next to Cade, but realistically, who could we get that fits the timeline? Who's the right age, right? So I can understand why he brought up Zion.
no, it's tough.
It would fit the timeline, but it's just his mental that scares me.
It,
So
because no, look, when I scan through, like, I mean, maybe Miami, you could get Bam at some point. I don't think that's happening. Like, whatever happens to Jimmy Butler, maybe they were like pivot. Like, that seems like a stretch. I mean, the
yeah,
Hawks, maybe Trey Young, but like, that doesn't. Yeah.
uh,
I want to just quickly, there's another player I want to get to, which isn't a superstar, but I've
uh,
spoken about it a lot. But I just want to shout out my man, Mark. Thank you, Mark. Appreciate you, brother. My Aussie man from all the way over in WA. Appreciate you. And the money, my friend, it means a lot to me. So thank you. I hope you're doing well. I hope you didn't take the day off work to watch this game today. Because I know us Aussies, if you're watching it live, you're either hiding from your boss or you're taking the day off. So, but shout out to you, man. Can't wait to have you back in the stream when you're back. But speaking of getting Cade help, I don't know if I got your thoughts on this last time, but a couple of people in the chat here. YouTube user brings up CJ McCollum, and so does Billy Bands, talking about CJ McCollum, Zion's teammate. I'll
yeah.
throw you a deal. So I don't know how the Pelicans have been going lately, but they're not making the play-in. So they're over the tax right now. So
Yeah.
for their owner, I don't think they've ever paid the tax. So CJ, the potential trades I've seen are like, say, it would be like Fontecchio and Tim Hardaway Jr. is probably what you need to do to make the deal work. Or I've seen Fontecchio and THJ and Sasa. Would you do either of those? Because CJ definitely helps this team this season for sure.
I think I pulled the trigger. It's unfortunate that Sasser has not been as good as I would have thought at this point in his career. I mean, he was an older rookie. I think he was a senior, right, or a junior coming out of college. So
Yeah, he was a senior at Houston when they drafted him.
yeah, so I was just expecting a better product, I guess. Again. I think the same thing you said about Fontecchio. I feel the same way about Sasser. I think he just hasn't been in the right role that suits him. So I wouldn't be against losing him. It sucks that he was a first round pick, and we're not. Well, I guess if we're getting CJ, I mean it's not bad for now, but he's just older. That's all. He's got 2 years left on his contract. I think from the last time we talked, right? He's got 2 years.
Yeah, 2 years, like I'm gonna say like 66 left. So obviously this year and next.
Okay. So yeah, I would do it. I would do it. I think that immediately takes the pressure off of Cade. I think it solves the issue. I think that answers the secondary ball handler slash scorer. He's played off of Dame for most of his career and done a great job. So I don't think it would be much different playing with Cade. I think that would be a great fit. I'd be willing to
Definitely.
lose those guys too. I mean, I'm just trying to think of the rotation. If you lose THJ and you lose Fontecchio, I mean, your starting lineup, who do you throw in there at this point? I
I
mean, you throw
I
CJ.
think CJ Cade, Asar, Tobias. It probably put what are they doing now? Yeah, you just put CJ in at the 2 for THJ, and then
Yeah,
off the bench you're leaning way more into Ron. He's probably picking up a heap of minutes. Obviously you got Beasley. I would prefer to keep Sasa, just so you got another ball handler. I know he's undersized. So you got Sass,
yeah.
Stu, and then I think some minutes. Who would be picking up like those backup 4 minutes? Let me look
That's
at this. You're probably going, yeah, Wendell Moore or Bobby Clintman. So you are a bit thin now at the 4 position, but maybe Asar starts playing more than 20 to 25 minutes. And yeah,
yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, I would still be willing to do it. I would pull the trigger on it.
yeah.
Because again, just to make sure I got this deal right. So at first I thought it was THJ Sasser, and then who else was it? I'm sorry. You said
I probably confused you.
Fontecchio?
I threw two deals at you. There was both of them have THJ, and then
Okay.
I've seen one that has Fontecchio and with THJ. Then I've seen another that's THJ and Marcus Sasser. Both of
Okay.
those, yeah,
So yeah, I'd rather keep Sasser then. Yeah, in that scenario, yeah, just to have another ball handler that could score. Yeah, I would be willing to part with Fontecchio and THJ. Yeah, I would do that. I would definitely pull the trigger. Yeah, I think we'd be all right. I think Bobby Klintman, hopefully, how you said, could finally get some minutes maybe with Fontecchio gone. That probably opens up a good 15, 18 minutes a game maybe for him. I would love to see
yeah,
him on the floor with Cade at some point just to see how they play off each other. Um, but yeah, I'd be fine with that deal. Um,
yeah. I
I'm
think
not
he's
I'm
the
not too
guy I
attached.
like. Yeah, because I think with CJ next year, like you then have him and Tobias as expiring deals for a start to move next year in a
Yeah.
bigger trade for say you actually can get in on a Devin Booker thing if that actually happened or um, some other superstar. But uh, I also just think CJ would be okay with coming off the bench behind Ivy, or maybe Ivy starts next year off the bench because he's coming back from a broken leg. Um, I'm assuming he's not going to play in the playoffs. Maybe he does, but I just think that having Cade, McCollum, Ivy is a really fun trio even next year, however it works.
Yeah.
Even if CJ's a bit older, like just like he's shooting, he can play make, like you mentioned, he played off Dame for, 2/3 of his career. Like he
Hmm.
knows how to play off a ball dominant, score first guard. So,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, that would be great, man. Um, honestly, he's been pretty good when it comes to injuries as well, right? He's been pretty available, I'd
I think
say,
so.
throughout his career.
I
So,
feel like he has, yeah.
yeah, I would be. I think that's the safest pick. I think the highest ceiling, though, is if you get Alonzo. I think that's a higher ceiling, I think, for your team. If he can get back to any semblance of what he was before the injuries, right?
Yeah.
I think I told you that last time. I like the idea of
Yeah.
another big guard that could play defense and shoot. His
So
vision is great as well. But yeah, go ahead.
I was just going to talk about Lonzo because YouTube user makes a pretty good point here. Does anyone realize that Lonzo has never been a primary creator handler in his career? He can't break down defenses or get into the paint. That's before a catastrophic knee injury. So I actually get where YouTube users coming from there because that was something with Lonzo. Like he just never really finished around the rim unless it was like in transition or something. But I just think like his passing feel, even this season, his field goal percentage is 38%, but he's like 34% from three. And I think it's trending up. So he's still getting close to 2 steals a game. Like, so he's not going to come in and run a second unit for extended minutes. But I still think when he's on the floor with Cade, he takes the pressure off a heap. Like he can bring it up. Like Lonzo can bring it up the court. Like
Comfortably.
he can run a bit of an offense. Like even if he's not going to be a guy getting to paint a heap, I just still think defensively his size, you know, whilst YouTube user, I think is like pretty accurate here in what Lonzo kind of struggles with. Like I still think what Lonzo does well helps his team heaps compared to if it was just for Fontecchio as well, especially.
Yeah, yeah, I agree. I'm not gonna sit here and act like I've seen a lot of Lonzo. You know what I'm saying? I mean, he hasn't
I was just
played in
looking
the
at
last
stats,
couple
man. I haven't
years.
watched any.
Yeah, I'm just gonna be
I'll
honest,
be
but like
honest.
just
Yeah.
from what I remember, I just remember him being a solid defender, great passer. I remember him shooting well. The finishing, I guess, yeah, I'm not gonna say here, if he's 35%, and yeah, the numbers don't lie, right? But that's for this year, right? And that's him coming off of this 2 year stretch of being out. So, I mean, I don't know. I think regardless, I think at this point, anything would be, an improvement at this point, man. I think it doesn't take much. I think you bring in CJ, you bring in Lonzo, it doesn't matter. Anyone at this point that could kind of take some of those, on ball duties off of Cade and get his usage down a little bit. I
Well,
think good.
and I think I don't know if it was in the chat here on Twitter I saw, but I saw someone make a good point about Sasa and kind of struggling, like because he's been put into YouTube users said it here as well. Um, about like Sasa being forced to be a point guard. You bring
I
in
agree.
Lonzo when he's playing alongside, he'll help Cade, but it allows Sasa just to exactly be what YouTube user says here, a
Yeah.
flamethrower off the bench. Like,
Yes.
and I think and like obviously you're in agreement. It's like I think that's another key point of this Fontecchio for Lonzo deal is like Sasa is still on the roster,
Yeah.
and he could benefit a heap from it.
Yeah, I agree so much, man. I've always said that from the beginning. I used to compare Sasser to an old Piston we used to have. Uh, his name was Rodney Stuckey. I don't know if you
I
were a
remember
fan at that
Stuckey,
point. You
yeah,
remember
bro.
Stuckey? Yeah.
He
So
he played like once. I think he was in Andre's rookie season, then he went to the Pacers or something. But I remember Stuckey,
yeah.
yeah,
Yeah, so man, Stuckey was the same thing. They wanted to turn him into a pure point guard, be the second coming of Chauncey Billups, but he was a bucket, and he always had that struggle of when do I pass, when do I look for my shot, you could just tell he was uncomfortable. But whenever he was allowed to just hunt his shot, you were saying Stuckey put up numbers, and he was the most effective. I feel the same exact way about Sasser. I think you got to give him the green light as well. I don't know what the coaching staff is telling him, but for a player like that, I think you just give him the green light and live with the results. At this
I
point,
agree. Yeah,
you got to just say, hey, man, when Beasley don't got it, man, don't be afraid to, if you want to do that little step back, I mean, pull it. I'm not going to be
good,
mad
bro.
at you. Yeah, I
Well,
mean,
that's the
me
thing, man.
personally.
That's the thing though, man. Like Sasa, like he's made huge shots like in his career.
Yeah,
I know the Pistons haven't played a heap of meaningful games, but I think back to that Rockets game a week ago, he hit a huge pull-up three, a massive floater over a man Thompson. He hit some
yeah,
huge threes against the Knicks at Madison Square Garden last time they played. Like he had in his rookie season this huge game against the Bucks on the road where he had like 25 pull-ups. Like I feel like by putting him in this point guard role, it puts him in this mindset where he's like, okay, am I running the team this possession or am I getting my own? And like he is
yeah,
just I'm getting my own guy, like you said, like Saki.
yeah,
So I'm with you.
man,
Like I think like bringing in that other guy, if you can keep Marcus on the team, I
yeah,
think we could have a heap of fun moments with him being that flamethrower, like YouTube users said, and just coming in, giving you 15 points in 15 minutes or in 10 minutes. Like he's capable of that.
absolutely. And he's one of those guys that, man, when he sees one go in, it's like the rim
Yeah.
just, it's huge now. It's like at
Yeah.
that point, man, I'm like, shoot that thing. I don't care. Like, shoot. At this point, man, no one else is, scoring. So why not get your shots up, man? You're the backup. You're the de facto backup point guard. They can't afford to
Yeah.
sit you right now. Like
Yeah.
if I'm a player, that's my mentality is like, hey, what are they gonna do? Bench me? You know what I'm saying? Like I'm gonna get my
Yeah.
shots up. I'm not gonna be crazy, but I'm not gonna be afraid to shoot. That's all. Again, I just hope that the coaching staff is telling him the right thing so he can feel comfortable to do that. But yeah, I mean, I remember even in the summer league though, he was trying to pass a lot, and I'm like, that's not what I expected. And then I think the last game of the summer league, he had like 40 points. I think he went crazy. I'm
Yeah.
like, that's where he's at his best. We need that
Yeah.
Sasser. So
No, I
yeah,
agree. And I think these moves we're talking about, like if they can keep him on the roster, look, if he gets moved in one of these deals, like, it's not going to be the end of the world. But I think if they can
yeah,
keep him and get another ball handler, like he's a guy who could benefit a heap just in this season in particular with Jaden Ivey most likely out. But Lewis, man, we got some love for you in the chat here from Jake, another great guest. Uh, any other final thoughts, man, before we close it out here? I've had a heap of fun, man.
yeah. Likewise, man. I appreciate you having me on, and I appreciate it, Drake. Thanks, man. I would just say the Pistons are gonna be just fine. Again, I feel like this deep in the season, we know what all the teams are, right? So at worst, we're a playing team. At best, we make that 6th seed. I say. Um, Yeah, but it's all on Trajan, man. I'll just leave it at that. Trajan, work your magic.
Oh man, well, so we got someone said here, how many days till the deadline? I can't find the comment. Stuff this
So,
up, but we're gonna
yeah,
find
yeah,
out very soon. Is all I was trying to say. Oh, Devon here
yeah,
says,
yeah,
shout out to Devon. He's been on the show 5 games till the deadline, so count them down. I think in 2 weeks' time we're gonna know the direction of this team. They're gonna
for
definitely
sure.
make a move because of the cap space and the roster spots. So let's see what
Yeah, yeah,
Trajan does. I've,
yeah. That's
that's
what I'm
gonna be
waiting for,
exciting.
man. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It could be fun. It always is every year, right? Trade season.
Exactly, man. Uh, anyway, Lewis, thank you so much for reaching out and jumping on, man. I've had an awesome time. I've always
Likewise,
forgotten
brother.
about how bad that game was. So appreciate
Yeah,
you. You're welcome back anytime. So please come back and we'll talk soon.
sounds good. Have a good one.
All right, catch you, bro. What a legend Lewis is. I thought I was going to be doing this solo, guys, honestly. So I was very grateful when I checked my DMs and I saw Lewis in there saying, can I come up? So shout out to him for jumping on, and shout out to you guys in the comments tonight. YouTube user, appreciate you. Drake, you're a legend. Billy Bands, I'm all in on the CJ trade, just like you are, man. Thank you for your comments and contributions tonight. Appreciate that. Devon, I know you called that Magic. Oh wait, if the Magic lose, anyway, Devon, want you back up here soon, brother. Appreciate you jumping in, and everyone else, Beastly Arrow. But special shout out to Derek Brown and Mark Wilkinson. I seriously appreciate any of your donations. That means so much. And like I said, just know that every single one of those seriously helps keep this show going, and more importantly, keep our community growing here at Pistons Jack with all of you guys in the comments and all your support. It's the best. So special shout out to those two. Thank you to all of you for watching. We'll be back for the Pacers game, and if we get that win, guys, I want some new if they beat the Pacers on Thursday or whenever it is, YouTube user, I want you up here. I want to talk to you in person. Derek Brown, we got to get you up here. We might have to. If they beat the Pacers, we're gonna have to break the record. I think the most we've ever had is 5 people on here. So if we can break that, let's do it after the Pacers game. But until then, as always, go Pistons.